Good evening and welcome to a special WDSU Commitment 2020 debate. I'm Travers Mackel. Tonight, we have a very special debate. It is the four candidates running for district attorney in New Orleans. Arguably next to the presidential race, it is the most important race on the ballot in the city of New Orleans. Now, the reason why this is an open seat, is because this man right here, incumbent Democrat Leon Cannizzaro, he's not seeking re-election. He's held the post of the city's top prosecutor for the past 12 years. Four people have qualified to run. They're all Democrats, and they are all here tonight. They are, in alphabetical order, former judges Arthur Hunter and Kiva Landrum, former judge and former head of the NAACP, Morris Reed, and current New Orleans City Councilman Jason Williams. We should point out that no question is off limits, as we want viewers to know why they should vote for one of the four of you. We're going to let everybody make an opening statement. You have 60 seconds. We're starting alphabetically. Mr. Hunter, we start with you. You have 60 seconds to let voters know why you believe you're the choice for DA.
Thank you, Travis. I'm Arthur Hunter, and I'm running for district attorney. And this is why. I know if we want to be a safer city, we need a district attorney who will hold people accountable for their actions, reduce recidivism, and also prosecute cases fairly without the lawsuits and the drama. Now, I was a criminal court judge for 23 years and a former New Orleans police officer. And this is what I would do. If you commit a nonviolent offense and you have a behavior disorder or a drug addiction, I would send that person to a specialty court to get the treatment services they need. With my police experience, I would create a special crimes unit that would focus on the violent criminals, because they're not only killing each other, but they're harming and killing innocent people as well. And with the Family Justice Center, I would partner with them on issues involving sexual assault and domestic violence, and allow those survivors to determine the outcomes of their case. And finally, with young people who commit crimes or accused of committing crimes, I would not only deal with what that young person did, but also ask why. Because what I want to do is realize, with three objectives: number one, to make sure that young person is on a positive path and make that first crime the last crime.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Ms. Landrum, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. I first want to extend my thoughts and prayers to those police officers who were injured in the line of duty the other evening. I am Kiva Landrum, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak directly to the citizens of New Orleans. For those of you who still have an opportunity to cast your ballot and your vote on Tuesday, we have a unique chance to restructure and create our criminal justice system, making sure that we prioritize public safety, focus on fairness, and demand integrity and transparency in our district attorney's office. As a judge and prosecutor, I am the only candidate in this race who has advocated for women and victims who have been abused and assaulted, and who has also protected families who have been affected by violent crime. I would be honored to have your vote on Tuesday to become our next district attorney. I am going to lead with the strength, the courage, and the compassion that we need to heal this community with the district attorney's office and build a relationship of trust.
Thank you. Mr. Reed, 60 seconds for an opening
Thank
statement.
you, Travis. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak to the citizens of New Orleans. I hope this segment finds all of you safe as a result of the aftermath of the storm, and that your properties are safe, and you and your families are safe in their persons. But I'm Morris Reed, with over 40 years of experience in the criminal justice system. As a judge, a prosecutor in the federal system, where I had to supervise or oversee the activities of district attorneys within 21 parishes east of the Mississippi River. I have a long history of fighting for the rights of the little man. I prosecuted rogue cops for police brutality and police shootings throughout the Eastern District of Louisiana. I'm the past president of the NAACP, an organization that was formed in 1908 to combat lynchings and killings of African American citizens in this country. I'm still in the forefront in fighting for the rights, the civil rights and improvement of our criminal justice system in this city and throughout the state.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Williams, 60 seconds for an opening statement.
We've had some dark days the past few years nationally and locally because of the leadership at the top, Donald Trump and Leon Cannizzaro. Whether it's the bogus subpoenas and the jailing of rape survivors and domestic abuse survivors, or ICE raids and Trump's Muslim ban. I stood up and fought against both of these men and their aggressive policies, while others who are running right now remain quiet. This is where we find ourselves. We're about 2 days from deciding who we're going to be as a country and who we're going to be as a city. You can trust that I will deliver reform to the criminal legal system and increase public safety at the same time, because I have been doing just that as council president, standing up, speaking out, and delivering real reform with real metrics to deliver public safety. Everyone claims to be a change agent now, but you have to ask yourself, when folks have had multiple chances in the past and they still went with the same tough on crime policies and have not made us safer, what have they done? Everyone talks about reform. We have to have someone who will deliver it our next 6 years.
All right, we're going to start this question with you. We have a pointed question for everybody. Mr. Williams, you're under federal indictment for 11 tax fraud related charges. Why should voters elect you to prosecute criminals when you're being prosecuted right now by the Federal Department of Justice? You have 60 seconds.
I'll tell you what I told New Norman the other day on the show. If you want to be a police officer, you want to carry pepper spray or a taser, you have to be tased or pepper sprayed first. This is my pepper spray. I know personally now what it is like to be on the other side of a vindictive and abusive prosecution. We need a DA who understands how this system works and how it can destroy lives. I got a target on my back because I stood up against Bill Barr and Donald Trump and Leon Canizero. Bill Barr is a smoking gun that shows this is a bogus prosecution, because he was here on the first day of early voting saying, you don't want a progressive DA. You should not elect someone who believes in social justice. That itself shows you. The head of the Department of Justice is saying, don't elect Jason Williams. He does not stand for Trump's beliefs and Canizaro's beliefs. So the fact that I was willing to risk everything and put a target on my back to defend the rights of the marginalized is why people should vote for me.
All right, Mr. Reed, let's move on to you. Some have questioned. They said, hey, Morris Reed, he may be out of the game for a while. He hasn't been the judge for a long time. He hasn't run the NAACP in a long time. He may not be up to date with reform policies. In 60 seconds, why are you the person? Are you in touch with reform policies to lead this office?
Of course I am. In 2015, we walked across the nation from Birmingham, across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, all the way to the MLK Monument in Washington, D.C., protesting the criminal justice system problems that exist in this country, the mass incarceration of young black males, the over-policing and over-prosecution of young black males, the school to prison pipeline. So we've been in the forefront of fighting, even when we haven't been visible to the public's eye. We still have been in the battle.
All right, Mr. Reed, thank you very much. Ms. Landrum, as acting DA back in 07 and 08, you've been accused of using harsh sentencing tactics, some methods that some people didn't like. If elected, what has changed? You have 60 seconds to answer that question.
Well, you know, I think it's important to understand when I took office as our district attorney, it was in a time of turmoil. Our elected leader had stepped aside. We were right after Hurricane Katrina. And I was tasked with making sure that we could keep that office running. And so I know some of the policies and laws have changed, especially as to marijuana. My platform has been clear that I will not prosecute marijuana in criminal district court, that we will divert as many of those cases as possible and refer the others to municipal court. And so it is important to understand the backdrop in which I served as our district attorney. But what I know is this. For people who criticize my experience, it is an attempt to hide their lack of experience. I stand as the only person in this race who has ever prosecuted a case in criminal district court, and the only person with the experience to lead the reform that we need and heal our city's relationship with the district attorney's office.
All right, Ms. Landrum, thank you. Mr. Hunter, as a judge, the Metropolitan Crime Commission ranked you at the bottom tier of judges for efficiency. If elected, how do you ensure to voters that you could run the office efficiently? You have 60 seconds.
Thanks, Travis. Well, look, when I became a judge, I took an oath to the Constitution to follow the laws and the dictates of the Constitution of the state of Louisiana and the United States of America. I did not take an oath to the Metropolitan Crime Commission to rush cases to judgment. That's one of the reasons why we have one of the highest exoneration rates in the country and also one of the highest wrongful conviction rates in the country because of judges rushing cases just to get a first place trophy from the Metropolitan Crime Commission.
All right, Mr. Hunter, thank you. We're going to go with a quick yes or no question. We're going to start with Mr. Reed. Yes or no, Mr. Reed, if elected, would you maintain a private law practice or would you solely dedicate your work to being district attorney?
I will be district attorney 100% of the time, yes.
All right, Ms. Landrum?
Yes, I will not maintain a private law practice,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I got it. Ms. Landrum, yes or no, would you maintain a private law practice or would you dedicate your responsibilities sheerly to the office?
I would not and have not ever had a private law practice.
Mr. Hunter?
I will dedicate 100% to the issues regarding the district attorney's office because those issues are very serious in our community.
And finally, Mr. Williams?
I'm going to be 100% focused on being DA, but I have a bunch of lawyers who have not needed me for the past 5 years at my firm.
Okay, so with that, is that, I guess? Yes. Okay. All right, we're going to start this question with Ms. Landrum. The voters watching this right now want to know what you're going to do about violent criminals in the city of New Orleans. Will they be punished, jailed for murders, robberies, and rapes? You have 60 seconds to lay out your platform of what you'll do dealing with the violent criminals in the city of New Orleans.
What I know is that public safety is the utmost important to me and to my candidacy as our district attorney. And so I am going to prioritize violent crime, and that means by working with and supporting our police department in their efforts to curb violent crime in our community, making sure that we are screening cases and operate with integrity and transparency so that we can make New Orleans safe. It is my commitment to make sure that in every policy and procedure that we enact, that we prioritize violent crime cases in the office. We are also going to make sure that we prioritize those cases on the court's dockets. And so we will build partnerships with our police department, with our community actors, making sure that witnesses and victims feel comfortable and safe to come forward to help us so that we can make New Orleans a safe city.
Mr. Hunter, same question, 60 seconds. What is your plan with crime on the rise to stop violent crime in the city of New Orleans?
Well, you know, as a former New Orleans police officer, I know what it takes for us to be safe and to have a good investigation. So I'm going to create a special crimes unit that will consist of the intelligence division, the major case narcotics, and work with the DEA and FBI and focus on those violent criminals and those drug gangs because they're not only killing each other, but they're harming and killing innocent people as well. But I want to go further. I'm also going to concentrate on those murders and domestic violence and work with the Family Justice Center to make sure we target those who are stalking and those who are who've been accused of strangulation as well. And I'm going to work with those murders which are over beef and bring back ceasefire and make sure we put credible people in the community to deal with those murders before they even occur.
All right, same question, Mr. Williams. What is your plan with crime on the rise in New Orleans to stop violent crime and violent criminals in New Orleans?
See, this is where the rubber meets the road, and this is what distinguishes me from the folks I'm running against. The issue is with prioritizing violent crime is taking substance abuse and persons in mental health crisis and removing that from the court's docket and diverting that in the DA's diversionary program. Because then the docket is solely focused on murder, rape, armed robbery, people who have hurt people. So it allows ADAs to focus on the most serious offenses. And so what we've done for a very long time, for the past 20 or 30 years or so, is we tried to do everything. And when you try to do everything, you can't do anything well. I'm also going to have a special division. I know the DA is not a super cop, but I am going to help the police department understand how to be proactive and strategize on particular crimes. Armed robberies, murders, sexual assaults, these are very different crimes and need specialized divisions with specialized training. I've trained lawyers my whole life. I will do that in the DA's office so that we can be specific and targeted.
All right, Mr. Reed, same question. What is your plan to stop violent crime, which a lot of people out there watching this really care about? 60 seconds.
Thank you very much. My opponents don't know, but up to 80% of all violent crime, of all prosecutions, are rooted in the narcotic trafficking in our community. And there has been no serious effort to prosecute major narcotic traffickers. I worked the largest drug seizure that has come into Louisiana in its history. 200 tons of cocaine, 98% pure, the Zetum C. 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago, hasn't been a seizure since. This is a major port city. If you don't have a program, a plan to deal with narcotic trafficking in your community, you can't start to deal with the violent crime situation. I've been trained by the Department of Justice as a special agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration, working international drug to combat international drug trafficking. I know what to do. We will create a narcotic task force. We will create a homicide task force, and we will get to the root of the problems plaguing our community.
Thank you. We're going to start this question with Mr. Hunter. It deals with a specific case. 30 seconds to answer this one. On Friday night, a man who may have had some mental health issues opened fire on New Orleans police officers, injuring 2 of them. In your opinion, in 30 seconds, does that constitute a crime of violence, and should that person be prosecuted?
Yes, it is a crime of violence, and the person should be prosecuted. But you know, that's why what happened, because we don't have the resources or people coming together to deal with mental health issues. And unfortunately, we have to wait until something serious happens in order to do something. So what I want to do, if you have a behavior disorder and it's not nonviolent offense, I want to do what they do in Miami, which means that when the police is called, the police will take that person to a community mental health center to receive the treatment and services they need. And once they complete it, I'll dismiss the charges.
Same question, Mr. Williams. Friday night's incident, a man who may have had mental health issues opened fire, injuring 2 police officers. In your opinion, is that a crime of violence in 30 seconds?
It is absolutely a crime of violence. Someone shot a gun at 2 other human beings. However, my office is going to get engaged in those incidents that happened before. I guarantee you this was not this person's first incident of a mental health crisis. And I'm going to work with the police department to try to set up a situation where we can have social workers who can respond when a person is in the throes of a mental health crisis, and then provide the intervention services to help them either stay on the medication or get the treatment or help they need so that it doesn't escalate into a violent incident.
Mr. Reed, same question in 30 seconds. Is that a crime of violence involving those police
That's
officers?
a crime of violence, but the police cannot solve it alone. It needs the interrelationships with social service agencies, mental health services has to be improved and enhanced in the city. You know, I've lectured in law enforcement and at every university in this city. I've sat on the nonprofit board for violence against women at my house. I am sensitive as a social engineer. My major is sociology, for the need for social services agency, pre-trial as well as post-trial, to deal with the problems that we have in our community.
All right, Ms. Landrum, same question, 30 seconds. Is this incident involving a possible mentally unstable person a crime of violence in your opinion?
It is absolutely a crime of violence, and what is important is that as we go forward, we look to the root causes of this activity, and if it is indeed rooted in mental health issues, that as we prosecute the case, we look to seeking help and partnering with people who can help the individual and get them the mental health help that they need. It is going to be important that as we structure these cases moving forward, that we link people with the services that they need so that they do not ever have to re-enter our criminal justice system under these circumstances again, and we don't encounter these circumstances again.
All right, 2-part question here. We're going to go quickly through the first part. Mr. Williams, yes or no, should the police department be defunded? There's going to be a second part, so just yes or no right now.
No.
Mr. Reed? No. Ms. Landrum?
No.
All right, here's the second part. We're just going to start with you again, Mr. Williams, in 30 seconds. What is your plan then for the New Orleans Police Department, given the fact they get the biggest piece of the pie out of the city's budget, and there is a push nationwide from reform groups to defund local police departments, in 30 seconds?
As council president, I've already been doing this work before George Floyd, before Breonna Taylor, before the protests in the street, before the call for defund the police. We moved $1.5 million from the criminal justice system to early childhood education, trying to build stronger boys and girls than to try to rebuild broken men and women. So we've already moved money around. That's what it's about, allocating the funds where they can help the community and provide on-ramps rather than trap doors. I also set up the Jerome Big Smith Community Advisory Committee to look at funding, but having citizens play a role in that budget process. That's going to help us out a lot.
Mr. Reed, same question in 30 seconds. What is your plan for the police and funding if you believe that they should receive funding and not be defunded? 30 seconds.
Funds should be reallocated so we have better efficiency within the police department. I've sat on the Mayor's Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. My wife has sat on the Human Relations Committee for the city. I think that we should look at the areas where there are problems being created in other parts of the country. We should diminish the footprint of the police department and the DA's office. I would reassign all of those cops assigned to the DA's office back to the police department and replace them with civilian investigators. I would send the grand jury back to the courthouse where it belongs and get it out of the conference room of the district attorney.
Ms. Landrum, same question in 30 seconds. What is your plan since they shouldn't be defunded?
Well, my plan would be not just with the police department, but with the district attorney's office as well, that we reallocate and restructure our funds such that we make sure that we are focusing and prioritizing on violent crime, which is going to keep the citizens of New Orleans safe. And so that is always going to be my first priority and focus as our district attorney. And so I will work and partner with the police department so that we can do this together and build a safer city for the citizens of New Orleans.
Mr. Hunter, same thing, 30 seconds for that question.
You know, what I can tell you is, look, I was a mental health court judge and veterans treatment court judge. So I've seen firsthand that if you allocate resources to preventing crime, giving people treatment and services they need, it's going to make us a safer city. And so that's where the funding should go to. And I had this conversation with the mayor. I said, look, for every police officer you hire, you should hire a social worker and a mental health professional as well.
All right, we have one last yes or no question before we get to closing statements. We're going to start with you right now, Mr. Reed. Yes or no, should marijuana cases be prosecuted in criminal court?
No.
Ms.
No.
Landrum? Mr. Hunter?
Absolutely not.
Mr. Williams?
Absolutely not.
All right, I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. We're going to give you all 30 seconds to make a closing statement on why you believe you should be the top prosecutor in the city of New Orleans. We're going to start in reverse order this time. Mr. Williams, you have 30 seconds.
Everyone on this dais right now is talking about criminal justice reform, but you have to ask yourself, what did they do before we knew the names George Floyd and Breonna Taylor? What is their record? We have a chance on Tuesday to vote our hopes rather than our fears. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to redesign a system that can be fair for everyone and deliver real reform and make us safer. I have a proven track record of delivering these things. I will increase safety for families, disrupt the school-to-prison pipeline, rebuild public trust, end mass incarceration, and lead us to be the center of criminal justice reform in this country.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reed. 30 seconds to make a closing statement.
We'll have a serious prosecution effort against gun runners in our community and the violent offenders. Not like my worthy opponent has stated, I do have experience in prosecuting offenders under the Louisiana state statute and federal court. I will have a moratorium on the use of the Multiple Offenders Act on citizens in this community. I will have a moratorium on treating juveniles as adults by the district attorney's office. And I will ask for a moratorium on the application of the death penalty until all the other parishes come in line with the city of New Orleans.
All right, Ms. Landrum, 30 seconds to make a closing statement.
Thank you, Travers. You know, the future of our public safety is on the line and will be determined on Tuesday. We can either let third-party special interest groups from New York City and Washington, D.C., who are spending thousands of dollars attacking me with lies, determine and dictate our public safety, and maybe Arthur Hunter can answer some of those questions for us next. Or what we can do is elect a leader who has shown experience, who has shown independence, and who will lead this office with a vision of making sure that we're fair and safe in New Orleans.
All right, thank you, Ms. Landrum. We wrap up with you, Mr. Hunter. Closing statement, 30 seconds.
Thanks. Well, since Kiva mentioned me, I don't know anything about any outside groups being involved in campaigns. It has nothing to do with my campaign, that's for sure. But let me say, if those statements and if those allegations are true, then the question is, why, Kiva? But look, I'm not a professional politician. And you got to look at somebody's record and what they've done in the community and in the courtroom. I protected our community as a police officer. I held police officers accountable for misconduct. I created a nationally recognized program to reduce and prevent crime. I was a fair judge, and I would do the same thing as the next district attorney.
All right, we are out of time, unfortunately, because we could probably talk for a couple of hours here. Arthur Hunter, Kiva Landrum, Morris Reed, Jason Williams, thank you all for being here. Good luck to everybody on Election Day on Tuesday. That is all the time we have for this debate. I'm Travers Mackel. Once again, Election Day is on Tuesday. Please go vote.